Welcome to the Cowboys Report. I am Tom Downey. We're breaking down some Cowboys trade candidates, i.e. players the Cowboys might ship out, all coming in via ESPN's Todd Archer. It does feature some big names. I do question, is there real interest in some of these guys? Can you actually find a trade partner? If so, great, because I do think beyond 2025 might be the proper priority with just how bad this defense is. So when it comes to the trade deadline, what should the Cowboys be? B for buyers, S for sellers, H for holders. Let me know in the comments of today's show. So Cowboys trade candidates. First up here is Trevon Diggs. And this is a name that many of you have mentioned because everyone's mad at him. And he's also mad at everybody. It's a bad relationship right now. Here's what Todd Archer wrote. The question becomes, what could the Cowboys get from him in a trade? Well, maybe a better question is this. If the Cowboys are going to move on from him this season for salary cap purposes, why not take a day 3 pick back in return if they can get it? If he is cut, the Cowboys will get no compensation in return. I think it is extremely obvious the Cowboys and Trevon Diggs are headed towards a divorce. He will not be here in 2026. I think that's been the case dating back to this past offseason when that relationship had clearly grown toxic, regardless of who's to blame. Who wants to trade for Trevon Diggs right now? Who here wants a guy with multiple injuries, currently on IR? Cowboys, it wasn't the concussion, it was the knee flaring up on him again. Oh, and he's expensive. That is not a guy that generates trade value. I don't think there's any value in shipping out Trevon Diggs right now. In fact, if you wanted to, you might have to attach a draft pick. And I don't know if that's worth it for you. Look, overall, it just isn't good between Diggs and the Cowboys. It just has not gone the way it's needed to. They could save some money by moving on from him this right now, but you'd save the prorated figure of what the new team would owe, etc. The new team would take on around $5 million for half a year of Trevon Diggs, and he's hurt right now. This doesn't make any sense. I would be shocked if anybody had interest in a Trevon Diggs trade. In fact, had there been interest, I think he would have been moved in the offseason, but there wasn't any in the end. So will Trevon ever play again for the Cowboys, or is he just going to stick on IR for the rest of the season? Y for yes, N for no. Let me know in the comment section of today's show. Next up is Jalen Tolbert, and this is one that I had pushed back on in the offseason. You've gotten some of the things that I wanted to make sure was happening before I wanted to consider flipping him. Here's what Todd wrote. The Cowboys would be careful about making such a move because injury to Lamb or Pickens leave them very vulnerable if they moved on from Tolbert. Would a receiver-needy team take a half-season look at Tolbert, a third-round pick, for a 5th, 6th, or 7th-round pick in exchange? I do think the injury point is very valid. And I think Tolbert has fallen behind the depth chart. Ryan Flanoy has surpassed him, it seems like. Why not shop him at this point? He's not going to be on your team next year, and that's okay. I don't think Tolbert is part of the Cowboys' 2026 plans. He's not a bad player, though. He kind of consistently makes a play when called upon. It's just few and far between opportunities, and he's just not a dynamic player overall. He just is a good backup wide receiver. You might be able to do something here. I think that's still 6th-round pick, 7th-round pick, day 3 pick swap at that. I don't think you're getting massive value, as weird as the wide receiver market often ends up being, but he's been clutch in the past. But I want to see more Ryan Floyd. Frankly, look, you traded a 4th-round pick for Jonathan Mingo. He wasn't even active this week. At some point, you're probably going to have to activate Mingo, or at least want to activate Mingo. And if you don't do that now and give him a chance, well, are you ever going to? And if you're going to activate Mingo, probably means Jalen Tolbert is the guy that you're going to scratch, so why not flip him? This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. The hard-hitting football action is even better with Prize Picks. The weather might be changing, but the feeling of being right never gets old. So keep the season rolling on Prize Picks by getting $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. Prize Picks is available in more than 40-plus states, including California, Texas, and Georgia. How you play is up to you. You want flexibility? Do the flex play. You can get paid even if one of your picks misses. You want the biggest payouts? Do the power play instead. Here's one Sunday football prize pick slate. Cameron Dicker, the kicker, more than 7.5 kicking points. So points. Shimri DK, more than a half touchdown. And Justin Herbert, more than 1.5 passing touchdowns. Links in the comments section and the description of today's show. But download the Prize Picks app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. Let's go to Sam Williams here. And I am done with this. I am more than happy to move on. Here's what Todd wrote. The Cowboys considered giving Williams an extension during training camp, but he wanted to see how this year turned out. Like Tolbert, if he is not in the Cowboys' plans beyond 2025, perhaps it makes sense to look at what they could get, although it is possible they could recoup a comp pick for him in 2027. First off, thank God they did not do that. Thank God the Cowboys said, actually, we're not going to go out and actually end up paying Sam Williams. That would have been a disaster. It honestly would have been, you paid Sam just to spite Micah Parsons, frankly. He has been a liability. There's no way around it anymore. He has more penalties than sacks over the course of his career. He is more likely, it feels like every single week, to hurt you than he helps you. He will not stay in his gaps. He will bounce it out inside far too often. He hasn't had a pressure in 2 weeks. He had 5 against the Eagles. He's got 10 in the following 7 games. He's a liability. He's not a winning football player. He might make the occasional splash play for you, do something right, show some effort, but too often he is a negative for you. As a result, shoot, man, I don't know who wants him. Who wants to trade for Sam Williams? You know, the draft pedigree, second-round pick might help, but you turn on that tape and you go, oh, he's not doing a good job against the run, and he's not doing a good job against the pass. Dan Quinn needs some help. Dan Quinn was a key driving factor in drafting Sam Williams in the first place, which was part of the issues that, like, the Cowboys front office loved Dan Quinn's eye and how he held up with the scouts, but a lot of the Quinn-era picks were bad, which is a future video we'll discuss. I'm done. I'll free up snaps for others. I'll take whatever I can get for him. I don't know if I can get something. Now watch, he goes to the Niners and ends up getting good with their great defensive line coach. I would crash out. If the Cowboys make a trade, adding or subtracting, we will have a video for you. Hit that sub button, youtube.com/CowboysTV. Mazi Smith is next up here. Not surprised in this one either. Again, draft pedigree. Maybe there's some interest there. Here's what Todd wrote. Since the first-round pick is on a fully guaranteed contract signed through 2026, a change of scenery might do everyone some good if there's a team that believes Smith can find the form he had at Michigan. I actually don't think Mazi has been that bad this year, but he hasn't been impactful either. If Mazi Smith was a 7th-round pick, we would not be having this conversation right now. But Mazi wasn't a 7th-round pick. He was a 1st-round pick. And there are expectations that come with that. And right now, Mazi is a jag. He's just a guy. One of the worst things you could be in the NFL. He's not horrible out there. He's giving you 15, 20 snaps a game, but they're just snaps. Borderline is doing cardio right now. There's no impact. Got 3 tackles this year. He had that game against the Giants back in 2024. I think the constant coaching changes have been a real negative on Mazi Smith. I think he has been failed by this organization, but he gets just as much blame in the end as well. So name a player who you want to trade away. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Focusing on guys who I think you could maybe get something for. TJ Bass could also be in this list, by the way. First up is Luke Schoonmaker, which he doesn't do anything for you. Like, he's not good. No one wants him, though. You might be able to get something for Dante Fowler. It's very similar to the Everson-Griffin trade years ago. If you lose against Arizona, I would be shopping Dante Fowler pretty darn heavily, actually. That is a name I would shop, and I'll take a day 3 pick and move on. Damone Clark, I don't think anyone wants him. 3 different regimes have gone, okay, he's actually not that good. The one dark horse name I think you can throw out here. What about Kenny Clark? What if you lose against Arizona, your season's over, Could a team take a rental of Kenny Clark and give you a draft pick back? Do you want to pay him $20+ million next year? If the answer is no, you should consider that. I think he has, at times, been very good. At times, not been good. He was not good last week. But that is a notable name that you actually could get something back for.